I live in a medium-sized town in central Kentucky, and by my account, within a 1 square mile distance from my house, there are at least 20 churches. In my town, as well as in most of Western culture, the symbols of Christianity are ubiquitous, especially Christianity's primary symbol, Jesus. Jesus is such a powerful symbol in our culture that he's used by priests, politicians, parents even, to create leverage around authority. But I believe there's something more to the symbol of Jesus. As a matter of fact, I believe the symbol of Jesus has something to do with where dreams come from.
I've got dreams to remember.
Swiss psychologist and channel daddy Carl Jung said the following about Jesus. The whole point of Jesus' life was not that we should become exactly like him, but that we should become ourselves in the same way he became himself. Jesus was not the great exception, but the great example. Jung believed that Jesus wasn't just a moral teacher or a moral example even, but instead he was an example to us of what it's like to live our greatest potential. Jung believed Jesus was a symbol for what he called the self. As a matter of fact, he wrote an entire book about it called Aeon. Jung believed the self was the ideal version of a person, the version that had achieved every one of its potentials and had become everything it could be. And Jung seemed to imply that even though you may not currently be that ideal version of yourself, that version of you exists somewhere outside of space and time and is trying to manifest into space and time as you. What does all this have to do with dreams? Well, I'm glad you asked. Jung believed, and I believe, that dreams are the primary way that our self communicates with us. It kind of uses our dreams to give us coded instructions on how we can become it, how we can realize our greatest potential, how we can compensate for the limited perspective of our egos and achieve greater things. Which brings us to my most controversial opinion, at least in Christian and church circles. What is the best way to become like Jesus? Well, I would argue it's not going to church or reading the Bible or praying or trying to follow his ethical standards. It's not even helping the poor, although I think you could make arguments for each of those things depending on what you're trying to achieve. And those are probably good ways to copy Jesus's behavior for your personality to become more like his. But I would argue that if you want to become more like Jesus in the level of effectiveness that you have in whatever you're trying to accomplish, the goal or the most effective way to do that is to start paying attention, recording, and analyzing your dreams. So our dreams, like a lot of things our bodies do, our dreams have multiple purposes. Scientists believe that when we dream, our brain is categorizing and storing memories, and it's kind of sharpening our survival skills. But that's kind of what it's doing neurologically, physically. I believe there's also something that's happening spiritually, or maybe psychologically, you might say. And the older I get, spiritual and psychological kind of mean the same thing to me. But spiritually, I believe, like I said, Jung taught that our higher self, our potential self, is trying to achieve what might be known as homeostasis psychically. So our bodies are very concerned with homeostasis. If we get too hot, we start to sweat, and that sweat is our body's way of trying to cool us down. If we get too cold, we start to shiver, and that's our body's way of trying to move our muscles quickly and create energy. That's our body trying to achieve homeostasis. Psychically, I believe that's also the case. If our ego has us kind of going into one ditch and has us acting a certain way, our self says we're never going to achieve all we can achieve if we continue to go in that direction. So it sends us a dream, which I said is like coded messages to try and say, hey, it's time to overcorrect a little bit. It's not overcorrect, it's time to correct a little bit. It's time to try and get us into the middle of the road. And so because of that, I think it's really important to pay attention to our dreams and not just write them off as some kooky thing our brains do while we're asleep. And some people say they don't dream. That's not true. Everybody dreams. You just don't recall your dreams. And there are things you can do to start recalling your dreams. And that's one of the things I teach people to do. And then once you recall them, you need to record them, write them down in exacting detail, and then start analyzing them. And if that's something you're interested in, below this video, there is a link to a free PDF that has a very basic, very simple way to start analyzing your dreams. It's not comprehensive. It's not going to tell you everything you need to know, obviously, because this is a deep and wide topic. There's a lot to it. And so, but this is a way to get started. And so, do you want to be more like Jesus, not in a churchy, parochial, I'm not sure if I said that right, or prurient way, but in an effective way, in a way that allows you to touch people's lives and make an impression and change the culture around you, then I would recommend start paying attention to your dreams. Okay? Let's talk about that more in the future.